This weekend, Virginia International Raceway and the Sports Car Club of America combined to form a mecca for lovers of sports car racing. Since 1964, SCCA has been crowning national champions at its annual runoffs, the peak of the Summit Racing Equipment SCCA road racing program. For the second straight year, welcome to the track that won Paul Newman once called Heaven on Earth. It's the historic 60th annual SCCA Runoffs. Welcome, everybody, to this absolutely glorious ribbon of asphalt through Southern Virginia hillside as we are ready for this 60th annual SCCA National Championship Runoffs. It's the second straight year we've been here, third time total, and it has quickly become very much of a favorite. Good look there at a number of the volunteers, the SCCA members, and it's their national championship as well. Everybody going after it, and today we are going after the F Production National Championship. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Tom O'Gorman. Hayward Wagner is covering all the action down in the pits for us, and this is one of the older classes that has been around nearly since the inception of SCCA club racing. And Tomo, they always put on a show, and you can see there's some oil dried down in the S's there from our previous race. So these opening laps here are going to be a little sketchy.
Always a little bit more drama than usual for specifically F Production, no matter what happens. But as you mentioned, it used to be A Production all the way down through, I believe, H. It has since moved on to absorb a lot of GT classes, but specifically E, F, and H Production have lived on, and they're really cool cars. They have the same chassis and motor that they came from the manufacturer, no matter if they were produced in the 60s or the 2000s. But other than that, we're built motors, racing suspension. You'll see the bodywork modified, windshields chopped off. These are proper race cars. They're really cool little package of race car. Also very limited on the kind of aero they can run. So it's a very unique style of car to race. And we have a wide range of styles approaches, I would say, here in F Production.
That we do, and for more on that, let's check in with Hayward.
Hey guys, it is a cool overcast morning here at VIR, but a lot of excitement in this grid. Greg was talking about how this is kind of one of the classic classes of the runoffs in the production category, but this one's really had a resurgence in the last couple of years. It's an all-Japanese field this year. No British cars. It's Hondas and Mazdas. And what you're going to see at the front of this field is a tremendous amount of parity that does not look like parity. You've got 3 front-wheel drive cars, all running Hoosier mediums on the front, medium softs on the rear. You've got a Miata running Goodyears. These are all 2,200-pound cars, give or take. And then you've got another pair of Miatas behind that. Talking to everybody on the grid, they say anybody from the first 3 rows has a shot to win this thing. But what I'm going to be watching is you've got two-time national champions in this field, Ira and Ruck. Everybody else is looking for their first one. There's a lot of hungry drivers right now.
Boy, that's true. Motivation in the extreme. There's a look at Bill Hingston. Great qualifying effort for Bill as he starts in that second spot. Qualified 6th last year, had a problem in the race and fell off just a little bit. But, you know, this is a field of some 20-plus cars, so it's a big field. And as you said, a fair amount of parity, especially up at the sharp end of things. And, you know, Cliff Ira just been absolutely on form here in that beautiful number 36 Cliff Ira Motorsports Honda Civic Del Sol.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of those racing, and one of the storylines of the runoffs this year in general is last year, almost every single race was affected by Hurricane Ian. We had really strange weather conditions, some races in a full-on downpour, some races in changing conditions. One of those changing condition races was F Production. If you look back the year before at 2021 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, they also had strange, wet, changing conditions. This is the first year in 3 that they're actually going to get to race on a dry racetrack.
Absolutely. Here's a look at our Mazda track map, and you know, it is a 3.27, so call it 3 1/4 mile track. 17 counted corners. There's lots of extra bobs and weaves, but three very different sectors to this track.
Yeah, the beginning of the lap kicks off with a lot of handling and a lot of mechanical grip. You need good grip and not a lot of aerodynamics involved here. Off of turn 1, the pull up through NASCAR turn 3 and into the lower S's at 4 through 6. Then we get into the high-speed balance. Well, back to sector 1, I'll say that's kind of where those Miatas are going to come into effect. Then a long, flat-out straightaway up through this second sector, the uphill S's. The front-wheel drive cars have good top speed, but a tricky balance there at the top of those uphill S's through South Bend at turn 10. Then the critical dig off of turn 12, another long straight where the Hondas tend to have a little bit better top end and a little bit better aero going into roller coaster at 13 and then down through Hog Pen. That's the sector we're taking a look at right here on camera.
Yeah, tricky sector, kind of falling down the hill. Hog Pen, a really critical and really treacherous corner as well. Last year's champion, Eric Prill, also had started on pole. He will not be defending this year, so we'll see what happens. Let's take a look at our starting lineup. Starting in the 21st spot, a rookie, Stephen Hyatt in Hyatt Auto Racing, Dodge Neon. In the 20th spot, the number 48 making his second start, Greg Seigert in his Mazda Miata. Starting in the 19th spot, making his second start, is George Spike Benning, and he is on the Mazda Hoosier Mazda Miata. Starting in the 18th spot, another driver making a second start, the 71 of Stephen Layfield out of Abingdon, Virginia, home race for him in the Mazda Miata. Starting the 17th spot, also on his second start, the 131 of Ben Glauca out of Greensboro, North Carolina, the Triad Auto Acura. Starting in the 16th spot, his third runoff start, the number 5 of Richard Gallup out of Clermont, Florida, driving the Mazda Carbotech Hoosier Mazda Miata. Starting in the 15th spot, the number 154 David Colby out of Utica, New York, in the Like Father Like Son Racing Acura Integra. And then he was last year's Sunoco Hard Charger from 17th to 8th. So keep an eye on him. Starting in the 14th spot, making his 66th runoff start, the number 50 Mark Webber out of St. Louis, Missouri, the Goodyear Redline Oil Hawk Mazda Miata. Starting in the 13th spot, second runoff start, the 33 of Les Cheney and the Appalachian Race Tire Acura Integra. Starting in the 12th spot, third runoff start, the number 13 Stephen Clark out of Salem, Virginia, driving the Evolved Auto Windsor Customs Mazda Miata. Starting in the 11th spot, his 11th runoff spot start, the number 28 of David Strittmatter out of Akron, Ohio, in an Acura Integra. Starting in the 10th spot, fourth runoff start, the 64 of Perry Simmons out of Winsboro, Texas, and the Mazda Miata. Starting in the 9th spot, eighth runoff start for the 98 of Michael Kamalian out of Marietta, Georgia, in the Revolution Speed Hoosier G-Lock Mazda Miata. Starting in the 8th spot is the number 63 making his second runoff start, Steven Simmons out of Rosharon, Texas, the JPM Mazda Goodyear Mazda Miata. Starting in the 7th spot, fourth runoff start for the number 3 of Doug Weaver out of Chatham, Ohio, and the JPM Hoosier and Mazda Sunoco Carbotech Mazda Miata. Starting in the 6th spot outside of row 3, 22nd runoff start for the 89 of Charlie Campbell out of Corey, Pennsylvania, the Carbotech JPM Hoosier Mazda Miata. Starting in the 5th spot, 18th runoff start for the number 52 of Mason Workman out of Canal, Winchester, Ohio, Hoosier Mazda Carbotech sponsoring his Mazda Miata. Your top two rows outside of the second row, starting in the 4th spot, 14th runoff start for the number 73 of last year's silver medalist Kevin Ruck out of Marysville, Ohio, the Hoosier Willwood Brakes Acura Integra. Starting in the 3rd spot as the number 51 of Ken Kannard making his 23rd runoff start out of Sebring, Florida. It's the Northwest Cable Hoosier G-Lock Acura Integra. In your front row outside the 08 of Bill Hingston making his start in the Parker, Colorado-based Goodyear JPM Mazda Miata. And your tire rack pole winner, the number 36, making his 9th runoff start, Cliff Ira out of Kansas City in the Cliff Ira Motorsports Honda Civic Del Sol. That is your starting lineup. We are getting ready, 15 laps to determine the national championship in F production, bringing him to the grid. Cliff Ira in the blue car on your left, Bill Hingston, the orange and yellow car on the outside. We're green. It flies, and off we go this long run. And man, did Cliff Ira time that. Already noses ahead just a little bit. Ken Kannard trying to make a move, and look at Ruck up around the outside, Tomo.
Yeah, Hingston wanted to get to the inside, and that rolled the red carpet out for Kevin Ruck to get around the outside, but it's going to have a hard time putting the power down. He does. He keeps the momentum up, and he's going to go right to third place in front of Ken Kannard. Well, not quite. They're still side by side coming into turn 3. Ruck up the inside on Hingston. A great dive, great move, and Charlie Campbell also in the white 89 car having a good start up to 5th in front of Kannard.
Really opportunistic move by Campbell, and that's going to be a big squeeze play down into turn 4. And what a piece of driving there by Ruck, who saw it coming as Mason Workman dove to the inside. The Ruck opened up the wheel to avoid contact. Looked like Charlie Campbell got squeezed a little bit and hopped over those curves, but off we go. First time through the snake, and really aggressive on that start as well. Battle already shaping up at the front. We've got, that's the oil dry, everybody. That just tends to make people a little careful there, and it's actually Kannard that had that moment. Ruck's in second.
Yeah, I would say historically, Cliff Ira tends to be a little bit more conservative, especially when the track conditions are questionable, and you saw him really back down in the uphill S's as soon as he hit that oil dry, stacked the entire field up, but no one was really willing to kind of throw a grenade on this one and turn it into a battle just yet. As everyone's questioning those conditions, Charlie Campbell drops the left side tires onto the back straight. It's going to give Kannard a great chance for a run, but I think Ruck is the one on the move right now.
Yeah, he's really closing, and there goes Kannard. And you talked about those Acuras tend to have a little bit more pace sometimes, and it didn't help that Charlie had that moment. And no matter what you do there, you're going to lose a little momentum. Now Charlie's going to try and brave it out. If he can stay here, it gives him the inside line here as they drop through the roller coaster, and he makes that work.
And we always know Charlie Campbell's going to race for it. He's not going to make it easy, as he was leading at one point last year in the rain-affected race. But the driver, I think, in this whole field, the two that really were going to want some redemption, this car, the 08 of Hingston, had a lot of drama last year in the wet, but was very, very fast. He absolutely had the potential to win, but couldn't keep it together. The 52 car also, Mason Workman at the back of this 6-car train in the black number 52, was actually tagged and spun on the start of last year's race. He's really the only driver that was affected by somebody else rather than just the wet. He's really looking for redemption.
Boy, Charlie Campbell in a fight mood right now. Make sure he protects on the 51 of Ken Kannard as they come through. Runs a little wide, but that can actually be a quick run, and it puts you in perfect spot here into this long arcing left-hander.
You can see this is where I think those Miatas are going to be a little bit better, especially coming off here at turn 4. The front-wheel drive cars, this is essentially part of the straightaway that puts you all the way up the uphill S's in South Bend. The front-wheel drive cars working that front axle harder, doing all of the work, where you see the Miatas are a little bit more balanced and a little bit better to get through those lower S's starting back at turn 4. But now we're seeing Ruck continue to keep the pressure on, and Kannard just trying any way he can to find a way by Charlie Campbell. They're side by side, and he gets it done.
Oh, nice job there. And that was also a bit of bravado, wasn't it? Because you're still in that oil dry, and you're never really quite sure. And he just said, I'm going for it. Mason Workman, and a big moment there as around goes your pole sitter, Cliff Ira. Ruck went through, and Ira looked like he got offline a little bit, lost it, and around he went. Big jump there as well. Hingston leaps up into second, and there is a wrinkle in the door for Cliff Ira. Definitely some contact.
Yeah, my assumption is Ruck went for the move, a late move up into South Bend on driver's left, and Hingston tried to go with him. I'm assuming Ira didn't see that both cars went for it, so Ruck now goes to the lead with that drama. He's got a huge gap back to Kannard, as both cars able to continue. A little bit of bodywork damage on the front of Hingston's car, but potentially affecting the aero, as both Miatas near him were able to just drive right past him down this back straight.
Yeah, Campbell, you can see Mason Workman being pretty aggressive right now. And then right in the mix is Hingston has dropped back as a result of that contact. Oh, and he's off. Slides off on the outside of the roller coaster, gathers it up. He may have some damage. Looks like, is that right front flat?
It is. I think he cut the tire when he went into the door of Cliff Ira. So it's another drama, another year gone for the number 8 of Bill Hingston. I don't think he knows the tire's down, though. He stays out.
Yeah, he does. And yeah, it's just a shame because he had such a good qualifying run this year. Really, redeeming himself just a little bit, and it's all for naught right now, but this battling is continuing. And the guy that to me looks really racy right now, even though it's Charlie Campbell who started the race really strong, 6th to 3rd, is Mason Workman. He is showing the nose everywhere out there.
And he was in for a shot last year, again, affected by getting tagged at the roller coaster last year, but he's really racy on the back of that very similar Miata of Charlie Campbell, and this is for third place. So what they don't want to do is waste time battling and lose Ruck, but honestly, Ruck might be gone at this point if he can put some fast laps together. He's 3 seconds up the road from Ken Kannard, and it looks like he's not looking back.
Yeah, and one thing, Ruck has a ton of experience, and now he knows it's flat.
Oh, yeah, there it goes.
I'm guessing that's probably off of that car, so that's really a shame. But again, that's way offline, so it shouldn't really affect anything, and that is in to turn 3 at the exit of 3. But here is Ruck, and he looks in his mirror as he sees this gift. I think he is going to just do everything he can to just break the field at this stage.
Well, and he's been waiting for this. This has been a really, really rough week for Ruck as we see a replay of that tire coming apart on Bill Hingston. But back to Ruck, he basically had axle failures in qualifying sessions 1 and 2. He got his qualifying time in on the last lap of the last qualifying session. At the very, very end. The checkered flag had already come out. He knew it was going to be his last lap, and it's finally got the car reliable. He got, just a 4th place lap that he was okay with. So this is kind of the break he's been looking for. As we see the pass now for 3rd, Workman was able to outbrake Charlie Campbell. Campbell might have given him a little kiss on the back bumper there coming into roller coaster, but now Workman's going to focus forward on Kannard.
Yeah, Campbell almost dropping those lefts, dropping through the roller coaster, and coming up behind Campbell is the number 36 of your tire rack pole sitter. Ira here is coming up. Ira getting a really good run through the hog pen, carried a lot more speed down through the bottom there. He is going to scoot by on Charlie Campbell. Ira is making an absolute charge back up through the pack here, and that puts him up into 4th, drops Campbell back into that 5th spot.
Yeah, that Del Sol is known for being very fast in a straight line. He's always had really good trap speeds, really good top speeds, so he gets that good run through hog pen as we take a look at that replay of Hingston getting his first hint that tire was down. But I think
it went down with that contact with Ira.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, but Ira is still within a shot of a podium here.
Oh, he absolutely is, and he's got pace. I mean, no question. Just set fast lap at a 2:09 flat, so he's got some pace. And along with being the tire rack pole sitter, he is also the Sunoco 260 Tuesday winner when he got that time. That lap at the end of his time closest to a .260, and got a nice collection of Sunoco 260. So, and here is the number 73 of Ruck up front, and still has almost a 3-second margin on the field.
Yeah, working lap 4. It's basically the top 4 cars ran almost the same lap time. You mentioned Ira was the quickest, but they were all on the same 4/10 or so. So they're really in lockstep at this point, kind of putting their heads down and getting in the rhythm. But I would say the car to keep an eye on is the 36. Mason Workman did not want to see that car coming back at him, as it looks like they're going to have a hard time really taking swipes at each other until they get to each other, right? Everyone's running the same pace.
And a quick question for you here. If Kevin, having all those axle problems in qualifying, how hard does he want to be pushing right now? Is that in the back of his mind that, I don't want to have another one go?
Well, it is. It's in the back of your mind, but it's also the runoffs. This is one of the highest levels of one race takes it all anywhere in motorsports, really. So he doesn't really have the option to take it that easy, and he knows that. We saw him jumping the curb at Oak Tree and then all the way out to the dirt. He's pushing it hard, and at one point this week he had pretty much every B-Series axle through the entire paddock, sitting at his paddock spot, just cycling through them. Which one of these is finally going to work? And I think they found kind of an odd combination of an axle failure and something else that was causing that. And they seem to have it under control.
That's great to hear. Cliff Ira has now gone through on Mason Workman. That puts him up into 3rd, and he just uncorked a 2 minute 7.7. And he is closing down in a big hurry here. That's significantly quicker than anyone else.
Yeah, it's a full second faster than anybody has gone, and it seems to have really been inspired by that contact. And then the car that caused the contact is out of the race for it. So he's just got to put his head down and work his way back. You see him checking the brakes, which means that these cars are not perfectly flat out through the uphill S's. You see almost no aero. Look at him moving around. The front-wheel drive cars specifically, a big handful at the top of these uphill S's. But you got to make sure those brakes are there if you need them.
Yeah, they do a great job. Here's the number 3 of Doug Weaver, who's putting in a really solid run behind him, the 99 of Michael Kamalian, in that beautiful white machine right there. And here is our Hawk Performance, the Hawk Breakthrough winner, making up the most spots from Tuesday to Wednesday qualifying. So lots of specialty awards unfolding here, and every one of these drivers deserve any recognition they can get.
Yeah, many ways to play, many ways to win here at the Runoffs, exactly. Right? But only one gold medalist. As we see the Steven Simon's car, the 63, the yellow Miata, pops out on Michael Kamalian side by side down that back straightaway, but now he's hit an arrow wall, and they're just going to go stagnant coming into the back straight. A little more motor, a little deeper on the brakes for the 99 camouflaged Miata for Michael Kamalian, but it's Doug Weaver that continues to hold down that 6th spot in this blue Miata.
It looks like what may have hurt Simons there was he's got a much more aggressive, large front diffuser and splitter on the front, and that can slow you down a little bit, and it makes it work real well in the corners, but you can't get into them sometimes that well. Oh, look at this here. Ira trying the outside of Kannard. This is for 2nd. Can he clear him? And if so, can he run down Kevin Ruck? A lot of race to go. Kannard just out deeps him. Watch for Ira now to try and square up underneath. Kannard covers that beautifully, but Ira is delivering a message here, and you see he puts that hand up and goes, let's go. I'm coming here. And Kannard, I think he's going to have his hands full for a few laps.
Right. Kannard probably knows he doesn't have a lot of chance to catch Ruck without Ruck kind of causing the issue. If he makes a mistake, he has a mechanical issue. So Kannard is going to fight for his life for this 2nd position. Ira, on the other hand, wants Kannard out of the way. Hey, I can actually run this guy down. I've got the pace for it, but he's got to find a way by. And it's kind of, I would say, almost a sitting duck position for Ken Kannard because the Del Sol looks to have so much motor in it.
Do you think it would be wise for Kannard to let Ira through, then try and draft him, stay with him as much as possible to get them both to close in on Ruck?
In theory, but I don't know. I don't know that Del Sol's going to poke a very big hole in the air to pull. As now it looks like that was Ira with a big loss of time in South Bend. Potentially got a little loose at the FLSs and dropped back off the back of Ken Kannard.
And suddenly he's got Mason Workman and Charlie Campbell, the 52 and 89, right on his 6th. And we're going to have to see what they're going to be able to do here, as that gives Kannard just a little bit of breathing space. And is it me? Am I seeing little bits of smoke from the back of Ruck's car? It could just be mist, but I thought I've spotted that a couple of times. I'm certainly not wishing him any. Oh, and a problem here. Hingston's bad day continues.
Yeah, it looks like he was able to get to the pit lane and get a new right front on that car, but I can't figure out where this is. Oh, it's actually at Hogpen, and this is a big ride, big impact into the tire wall. Luckily, a lot of tires there to kind of soak up that impact, but this could affect the race. That's an impact zone. Obviously, if Hingston got there, someone else could too. I wouldn't be surprised to see a yellow flag come out for this.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about. You get on the grass, especially if it's damp, you almost pick up speed.
Yeah.
And down he went. So, all right, here we go. This battle for 2nd once again. Ira has gathered it back up and is trying to make the attack here. Mason Workman had the fastest 2nd sector of this entire race, so he's finding some pace here as well. And the margin still 1st to 2nd, still almost 3 seconds. So right now, for Kevin Ruck, Ken Kannard is a good buddy.
Yeah, and Ruck last time through was a little bit off pace. He ran a 2:09.2 as we do go full course yellow here in F production, but Ruck was either taking it easy or made a mistake on that lap. He was the slowest car in the top 5 last time through, and this is really not what he wanted to see. He wanted to keep that gap.
Yeah, and you have to, you do have to manage tires a little bit here. This is a great scrap here. Les Cheney in that yellow number 33, or excuse me, that's the blue Integra, is Les Cheney, but Mark Webber there in that number 50. And this is an absolutely extraordinary story that Mark is, this, as I said, not only his 66th runoff start, he also, this is going to be his 663rd F production race in his career. Just stunning numbers for Webber. And in terms of runoffs, years at the runoffs, there's only one guy ahead of him, and that's Coburn. And so I was talking to Mark yesterday, and he said I'm going to run till he stops, and he's going to run knowing that I'm going to be there. He said, we could be 150 and still trying to do this. And I said, I hope you are. Yeah. That would be such a great story. But now the big thing here, of course, is Ruck's advantage. That 3 seconds is gone. and we know the speed of Cliff Ira, this is going to be a huge turning point potentially in this race, Tom.
Yeah, big time. Ruck is the one that didn't want to see this, and you're right, Ira is the one that did. But we still have, Kannard obviously between the two of them. Mason Workman and Charlie Campbell also absolutely in play here in those two Miatas. As you see, Ira trying to keep the tires clean and warm under this what will likely be a fairly abbreviated full course yellow.
Yeah, hopefully it'll get cleaned up in a hurry. And so while we are under a full course caution, we want to take a moment here. You don't have an event like this without some absolutely fantastic partners. We want to let you hear a little bit more about them.
A car like this shouldn't exist. Something this big, this luxurious, shouldn't move like a Mazda. And yet, it does.
Oh my God, it sounds epic as well. This car is an SUV with bragging rights.
The all-new three-row Mazda CX-90.
Okay, so pretend this is your race car. It's on the trailer, and you have an accident. Ouch! At least your truck's insurance will pay for another one? Yeah, not so fast. Standard insurance won't replace your race car, whether it's in the trailer, in the paddock, in the garage, or the repair shop. But at Hagerty, we can protect it for what it's really worth anytime it's off the track. No matter what or where you race, offer less than a set of race tires. Hagerty, let's drive together.
Welcome back, everybody. Full course caution continues here. And obviously, they're just working on getting the car of Bill Hingston, who has had a rough race here. Just a shame. Outside front row qualifying effort, a guy who's been fast and just hasn't seemed to have, found any luck. And when luck finds him, it seems to be bad, and it's really a shame.
Sure, and hopefully okay after that pretty rapid impact after going off just before Hog Pen. But we are second lap under full course yellow, lap 8 of 15 in the race. We've only been racing for 17 minutes, so if we hit that 40-minute mark, it will end on that 40 minutes. But right now, Kevin Ruck in the lead, had about a 3-second lead before the yellow came out over Ken Kannard, who was dealing with a lot of pressure from third place Cliff Ira in the Del Sol. Mason Workman, Charlie Campbell were clinging onto the back of that top 4 pack, but having their own great little race. Charlie Campbell really putting the pressure on Workman. Who has, I know, a ton of family and friends. At the beginning of the show, we saw his fans, family, friends, and fans in their own swag on the hillside.
Exactly.
Pretty cool shirts too.
Really is, yeah. I mean, looking the part, that is for sure. Hey, we just want to remind everybody that the pace cars for this 60th SCCA Runoffs are being provided by Mazda and Sport Durst Mazda in Durham, North Carolina. So a huge thank you for our pace vehicles to that group. Again, Mazda is so supportive. These are, after all, Hagerty race days, and our presentation for you this weekend is provided by Mazda. So love to be able to say that. And you can see this field at this stage now. Everybody knows that run through that part of the S's with that oil dry. That's all taken care of. At this stage, obviously front drive cars tend to be asking the front end to do everything. They tend to churn those tires up a little bit more. You think this is a good thing for those guys right now?
Not necessarily, because these cars at the weight, they tend to do okay with a 15-lap race on the front end. The bigger problem is rear tire temperature. So they're going to have cooler rear tires, a little bit less stable than they've been dealing with. We tend to see those front-wheel drive cars faster later, honestly, than the Miatas, which light up and they're a little bit better balanced with that kind of using all 4 corners equally. So I think we'll see Kannard, Ruck, and Ira be a little bit more conservative, especially at the top of the uphill S's into South Bend, just because of that tire temperature.
Right now, kind of interesting, in 7th and 8th are the Simmons, Steven Simmons in the number 63, Perry Simmons there in the number 64, and they qualified pretty close together. They're racing pretty close together. Both not a lot of runoff experience. This is Perry's 4th. It's Stevens only his 2nd, and doing a really nice job right now. And Steven had 3 podiums in the Hoosier Tire Super Tour, and Perry had 1. And if you're podiuming, is that a word? If you're getting podiums in the Hoosier Super Tour, you're doing something right.
Yeah, especially if they're racing the same races. They're both out of Texas. They're pushing each other all the time, and that's one of the challenges. Is some of the times racing nationally here, the only time you see the other fastest car is at the runoffs. Some of these drivers have not raced against each other all year if they're out at the West Coast and the East Coast. So these drivers have been able to work together probably, but also push each other and compete against each other to level each other up back and forth.
So when you've got family members that are racing together, you always want to be the one on top because then it's the other person who has the awkward Thanksgiving dinner. All right, our pace vehicle is in. It is time to get back to green. We will be completing lap 8 of 15. And watching for it, Kevin Ruck bringing him down, that beautiful number 73. That is the 1990 Acura Integra. We're back to green. Kannard getting a really good run, though. He's going to pop to the outside. Ruck feints over just a little bit to dissuade him, but locks up the inside right. He gets it under control, though, and Ira tucking it up underneath. They're 3 abreast, Tom Ho, at the exit of 1. That is crazy. Now Ruck is going to probably be able to cycle in. Look at Mason Workman. What a run by Workman. He's going to get third before they ever get to the exit of 3.
Yeah, very conservative restart for Ira, and I'm kind of surprised because Kannard was way back at the green flag, but he was able to give himself some space and make that lunge. Campbell goes through as well. So Ira, we thought would be the strongest car on the restart, is back to 5th again. I would say Ruck also looks a little bit uncomfortable, but he was able to keep the lead over Ken Kannard. But look at Mason Workman. He's right there.
Something just flew off the back of one of the cars as now Ira's starting to get to speed. I think that was Charlie Campbell that was coming up and pressuring him. But Ira, yeah, just a bit tentative on that restart once again. And look at Mason Workman. What a dive down underneath Kannard, and that is into that commitment meter corner. South Bend, you make a pass there, you ate your oats this morning.
Yeah, that's the same way that Ruck took the lead over Ira at the beginning of the race. So that's a great move if you can make it stick. And Kannard, I think, knows that he was given a gift of this restart. He knows that the Hondas are going to be a little bit weaker. They're going to take a little bit longer. He was way out of this one, I would say. He was 4th. Now he gets the gift of that restart. He's making every single move count.
And here comes now, you've been talking about it, Tomo, that little bit better straight line of the Acuras, and they're able to get around Mason Workman, but Mason has been carrying so much speed into all of the corners and through the corners here. We'll see what he's going to be able to do. But that little bit of an exchange there has allowed Kevin Ruck just a smidge of a margin.
And that's probably what he needed to be able to take that deep breath and get things under control. Huge flat slide through the compression there at Hogpen. But it looks like Ruck is now able to gap, and we saw some lockup from Kannard. Another car off in the back. It's one of the Simons, the 64 of Perry.
Perry going for that big slide. Fortunately, his angle was a little bit less acute going off the track, and he had a lot more room, and hopefully he's able to keep it running and accelerate off, and Ira takes a peek down underneath Mason Workman in the 52, down into turn 1, and Mason able to carry just enough speed through that corner. Somebody going off, I think, on the entry to 1 as well. Just saw another plume of dirt up in the air. Could have just been dropping a tire. Nope, he gathered it up, and that's the other. Oh my goodness, a bad lap for the Simons as the 23 now has dropped back. That is Steven. That yellow Mazda Miata has lost some ground as well.
It's classic commentator's curse. You talked about them before the green.
Exactly.
And their restart didn't go the way they want. As we take that relook, it just ran a little bit wide, I think. Yep. Both of them actually very lucky to go off in places. It's very downhill towards walls, and both of them keeping it out of that. But Ira, I think, has the wick back lit. As we talked about the cool rear tires, the conservative restart for the 36 car, the Del Sol there, has now taken the 3rd position back from Workman, who had that great restart up to 2nd at one point. But I don't think that the Miatas just have the motor as these front-wheel drive cars, handling just well enough and getting a lot of straight line speed done.
You look at that Del Sol, you pointed it out, it probably doesn't punch a very big hole. It looks noticeably a little smaller than the other cars. Does that mean lighter, which can often mean it takes longer for the tires to fire up?
Sure, and we mentioned at the top of the show that Cliff Ira tends to have a fairly conservative approach when we see him at the runoffs, as we have a battle for the lead.
Big move by Kannard, trying to get it done. Ruck is going to force the issue here. Going to try and get some overlap. He can't do it. And now Kannard able to turn in new leader. It is Ken Kannard up front over Kevin Ruck. And Ken Kannard, he is a 3-time bronze. He's won bronze medals. He did one here at VIR, but he too This is his 23rd runoff start. He's never stood on the top of the box. But Ruck fighting back. Kannard tried to protect it, looked like a little bit, coming out of hog pen and not give Ruck an opportunity to get down the inside. And I thought for a minute Ruck might just ramp the outside. He's been so. But here comes Cliff Ira now trying to squeeze it, and Ruck swings out. As much to improve his angle into one as it was to blunt, I think, Ira coming after him.
Yeah, three-way battle between these two Acuras and the Honda. Very similar engines and weights, everything happening here. So it's just a driver battle at this point. But I would say we mentioned before the yellow that Ruck's last lap before that caution was a little bit slow. He looks to be ailing in the straight lines. He got motored by way too easily by Kannard, and I bet it's going to happen again on the back straight, if not this next straightaway for the S's with Ira. So Ruck seems to be ailing just slightly. It doesn't seem to be anything apparently wrong with the car. You saw maybe a little bit of smoke, and it looks like to be handling fine, but as soon as we get to these straightaways, you see Kannard just kind of leaves him.
Yeah, he really does gap him, and here you go, Ira again taking a look through the exit of the snake here, and now up into these glorious climbing S's. What a wonderful rhythm section of track through this last one, and now the plummet down into South Bend, falls away on the exit, and here we go, Ruck thinking about it. Doesn't have the space. Kannard covering up into Oak Tree. And Kannard protecting a little bit there. That could make his exit run a little bit compromised. But the guy to really, I think, watch for now is Ira.
Yeah, let's see how much gap he can pull in and maybe alongside Ruck as another drama for Steven Simons in the, 63 car.
Yep.
Another off.
Looks like he might be unbuckling, so this could be a problem. Here comes Ira. And, boy, this could be great timing here. If Ira can close this out, if we do get a caution for that, at least he'll be in second. And Kannard really lighting up that outside rear tire under the brakes, obviously. And doesn't affect him at all, though. But Ira now through into second. I don't think this one's done yet.
No, and Ira's got a good run out of hog pen, goes to the outside. They're going to be side by side across the start-finish line.
Yeah, Kannard really shallows up his exit out of hog pen, and it just pinches the exit, and it just makes you a little bit slower with roll speed through the. And Kannard's got a problem. The bodywork is coming off on that left side of the car. He's got just enough in hand here to be able to hang in. Look at Kevin Ruck. Man, did he get through turn one in a huge hurry and just tried to split here. Now comes Ira up the inside once again. Ira thinking about it into turn three. Not going to happen there, and Ira protects. He sees Ruck that is looking real aggressive in the twisty bits.
Yeah, I think Ruck has the slowest car of the three right now, but he's racing the hardest. I would say he's looking for every opportunity he can to get these positions back after getting the lead early, and Ira doesn't want to deal with that. He wants to keep focused on Kannard in the lead, and to your point, the weakest corner for Kannard, I believe, is the final corner. If that was the checkered flag, Ira would have won it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we now have 4 laps to go. And the interesting thing is that little bit of a skirmish up by those top 3 has brought Workman and Campbell significantly closer by a little bit of a chunk of change. Going back, there's the 131 of Ben Glauca, that white Acura, right in front of Mark Webber. Continuing an incredible run, and Glauca got a little squirrely there, and Webber thought about it, but just couldn't quite pull the trigger. And behind them is Richard Gallup in that other red Miata, the one with the white air dam at the front. So really good scrap here we're looking at for 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Yeah, top 10 it's in the stat sheet. You're going to want the top 10 at the runoffs if you can get it, and this is the battle for it across these 3 cars.
Webber has a top 5 finish is his best, so he's a little bit behind that right now, but he's in an absolutely great race. And here's the number 5 of Richard Gallup.
The Integra disappeared, looks to go off. Yeah, there he comes back on. Ran a little bit wide coming off of Oak Tree, so now he falls outside of the top 10 does Les Cheney. And that's going to promote Stephen Clark and Ben Glauca. No, that was Ben Glauca, I'm sorry, that went off.
Yeah.
That promotes Mark Webber and Richard Gallup up into the top 10.
Yeah, it's a real shame for Glauca. I mean, he came from 17th and he'd worked his way up into 10th. And now Ira going to try it just using motor. So you can see him peek into his mirror and went, nope, Kannard is not enough inside. I'm going to turn in, but Kannard then forces the issue a little bit. They are still door to door heading into turn number 3 here. Fascinating section of track, and there Ira is able to lock it down. Oh, but a big dive by Kannard. Man, did he carry momentum through turn 3, down to the inside in 4, but now Ira's got position, but Kannard staying on the outside. Ira has to give way. What a duel we have at the front, Tomo.
Kannard wins the game of chicken. That's so awkward to go through the lower S's side by side, and Ira wasn't willing to do it. Now that puts him back in the clutches of Kevin Ruck, and look who's joined the battle. It's actually Charlie Campbell in the white Miata that is gotten by Mason Workman and now wants that podium spot.
Yeah, Campbell is absolutely hooked up right now, and he'd qualified very well last year as well and stood on the podium, and I think he senses an opportunity to maybe get there again. But all this dueling is allowing Kannard suddenly to be able to build a little bit of a margin here.
This should be lap 13 of 15, so this race is winding down while heating up. It's going to be a battle till the very last minute, I think. As Kannard now gets that little bit of a break, but look at the Del Sol, just checks out down this back straightaway.
Yeah, just opens it up. And right now for Charlie Campbell, he is staying glued into the draft of Kevin Ruck, trying to be able to do something, stay close enough to be able to make something happen here. And as we come by, start, finish this time, we will have 2 laps to go. And Ira now is dropping the hammer just a little bit. Kannard going to be doing everything he can to defend. Here comes Ruck, little wide by Ruck down there through Hogpen, and does the rim shot, but makes it work. Then Campbell in 4th, Workman in 5th, then a big gap, 9 seconds back to our 6th place driver, the number 3 of Doug Weaver. So it is going to be quite a battle here. 2 laps to go, and Kannard, that arrow, that big flap there is not helping him down that straight, but that motor is.
Yeah, it seems to be mostly okay. Remember, Hayward said anyone in the top 6 could win this one. Bill Hingston took himself out of that equation, but this is the 5 of the top 6 that he speculated. I would still say any of them could win this one, as F Production tends to be drama all the way till the very, very end. Things have stabilized for a moment, I would say, until Cliff Ira catches Kannard again. It's probably inevitable.
Yeah, well, I mean, and you pointed out here right now, I mean, the top 5 covered by 2 seconds. And, that gap, expands and shrinks just a little bit here. But what's impressing me here is Campbell and Workman now gets a little better run than Campbell, and he's going to pop to the inside, and he has position into the climbing S's. Smart move there by the very experienced Charlie Campbell, just tuck in behind, and now that little bit of side-by-side, now they've lost touch with that lead group.
Just a bit, yeah, and that tends to every single time this thing stabilizes just a little bit,
Exactly.
the Hondas get in line. As soon as they start racing, the Miatas come back into it.
Now out of Oak Tree, and Kannard now has built himself a little bit of a margin. That's the most breathing room he's had in a few laps. And Ira suddenly finds himself with more ground to make up than he would like, although look at, he pulls Ruck pretty substantially here. And does he close in a little bit on Kannard? And you see Kannard just doing that little brake tap, as now it's Charlie Campbell. Oh, they may have touched, and Campbell, as a result, slips through into 4th. So these guys, they are just absolutely after it here for Top Mazda.
Yeah, there's a huge pop on the middle of the back straight for Charlie Campbell, pulls just alongside, almost puts Workman off the track into the braking zone, as Workman was cutting some blades of grass with his right side tires, but they both keep it clean. Just a little rub, exchange of paint, and here we go. Taking the white flag, Ira has gotten back to Kannard. He gets one more lap, 3.3 miles to get this thing done.
This is going to be really intriguing because Kannard really tends to shallow up his exit at Hogpen, which is a speed stealer, and Campbell and Workman continuing their battle here for 4th. But that has allowed Ira to get a bit closer here, and now Cliff Ira, your tire rack pole sitter, he has got to just pull the trigger here and really just be there coming out of Oak Tree.
Well, 2 laps in a row, we saw a drag race between these two off of Hogpen, and the Del Sol was able to get to the line just by a bumper or so. So if he can repeat that, he will win this race. He's got to stay really, really close and maybe almost not attack too early, because if he attacks too early, he may have a chance at Kannard coming back at him, as he is. He's attacking early.
He looks at it now and then just decides nope and tucks right back in. Sketchy place to make a pass, and what you don't want to do is get yourself in a scenario like he had to breathe out of it there. Look at the ground he lost. and that might bring Ruck back into it. Exactly what you talked about. Don't attack too soon.
Yeah, he probably still has a chance to draft down this back straight and keep it there as he closes up nicely under braking. Kannard critical exit here. Uses every inch of track. Nice exit there for the Integra, the black and white, or black and orange Kannard. How close can Ira get down this back straight?
Yeah, and you could hear Kannard, as he that little blip on the throttle, and when he just went hard, and he knew he had to at this stage, and there might be a little bit of traffic up in front as well. But here comes Ira. Boy, he popped out awfully early here, and there's that big light up again of that tire. But Ira is close, but man, he's got a flow speed. Thing is, he doesn't want to be too close that he has to check up through hog pen either. This is really that chess match I talk about. Here we go. Here's where Kannard tends to tighten it up a little bit, gives it a little bit more head this time, and here we go. Ira, he's in the draft. He's coming up. Can he pop to the outside? He tries something. I don't think he's got enough. Kannard wins the runoffs, wins the F Production Gold. What a run in his 23rd runoff start. Finally grabbing the gold with Ira in second and Kevin Ruck in third. Workman and Campbell complete the top 5. What a duel the entire race, Tomo. That was F Production.
That was great. It was so much fun to watch, and congratulations to Ken Kannard. These drivers still battling for the, this is going to be just inside the top 10, I believe. Or just outside the top 10, potentially.
Working their way through. Big field here, and there is the number 71. That's Stephen Layfield out of Abingdon, Virginia. This is very much a home track for him. And right now, sitting in the 11th spot, he just couldn't quite close up on David Strittmatter just in front of him and crack that top 10. But still, Stephen Layfield from 18th up into 10th, or up into 11th. That might be Sunoco Hard Charger category territory for him. That's all determined. It's whoever makes up the most spots during the course of the race. So he might certainly be a contender for that as he flashes through and picks up that checkered flag. But for Ken Kannard, we in our first race we had David Richardson win his first ever runoffs after 13 years of trying and was in tears during the interview. And I would suspect we might see some similar emotion from Ken Kannard. He's been chasing this a long time. And
after last year, he was, I believe, leading the race and kind of just self-spun in the rain. This is, again, the first dry race F Production has seen in 3 years. So they got to actually race for it just on raw speed, and Kannard was the one that came out on top. Ruck coming alongside to congratulate. He's going to be a little bit heartbroken, I would say, as he led the first half of the race, really, but curious to see what might have been ailing in that car that caused him to drop back.
Yeah, exactly. And, same really for Cliff Ira, who clearly had the speed, but just, I wonder if after that hit, maybe there wasn't something just a little off in the handling, and he just didn't feel comfortable enough to push at the level we know he can.
Yeah, whatever the reason, he was definitely the most conservative of the top 5. Every time somebody took a move or made an attack, he would tend to kind of buckle under that until he could get himself back going again. And then Mason Workman and Charlie Campbell just beating on each other, figuratively, mostly, the whole race. It was great battle there for top Mazda honors. Yeah,
a little touch on occasion, but it was fabulous racing there between Charlie and Mason. And then Doug Weaver, David Strittmatter, Les Cheney, Stephen Clark, and Richard Gallup complete your top 10. So great run for everybody here in this F Production. Run to the gold in the National Championship. But for Ken Kannard, this is a very, very special cool-down lap. He'll get that lap of honor coming up here in just a moment. Cliff Ira, Cliff has won a couple of gold medals at the runoff, so the pain might not be that bad. And same for Ruck, but you don't work hard all year to get here and then miss the podium by 0.12 of a second.
Yeah, and Ruck definitely feels big emotions at these events. We always see it in his interviews, and we tend to get an interview from him because he's always on the podium for the most part. But I think we'll hear a lot of emotion out of Ruck for this one.
Well, looking forward to it as they are working their way down the hill here and coming in. And with that, let's check in with the third member of our team, Hayward Wagner.
Ken Kannard, I am told, 23 runoff starts and now a national champion. How does that feel?
It's about time. I was pretty thrilled. Obviously, I really treated it like a regular race, so I didn't get too much in my head, and just went out and drove, and it worked out.
It looked like you were really good on power and really good in the uphill S's. Where did this car feel the best for you?
I was pulling Cliff up in the uphill S's and kind of down in the lower S's, and that section I was doing well. Cliff was really fast coming off a hog pen, and he was challenging me down into one, and just had to use a lot of racecraft to get through that lower end sometimes with him and others. But it just a good race, good clean race up front, very clean.
Tom Fowler told me the only thing that he had to do was wash the car. Who do you need to thank?
Tom Fowler, one thing. I really got to thank my wife for letting me enjoy this. This sport. It takes a lot of patience from the spouses to do that. I have to thank Tom Fowler and OPM and the crew. They've done a fantastic job on this car. I really have to thank Todd Burris for helping me with data all week and video and helping set the car up. We got a new shock package on the car, and we're struggling earlier in the week with it. We've got it figured out, I think.
I think you probably did. Enjoy that championship lap.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Cliff, you've got a little bit of a scar here on the car, a little bit of a frayed nerve, it looks like. How was that race for you?
Well, that's a professional dent by one of the people that really is good at it, Bill Hingston. If he doesn't run into me, he runs into everybody else. He ran into me twice last year, so nice job, Bill. Appreciate that. First, congratulations to Ken. That was a really tight race. I was really fortunate to be able to keep going, to be honest with you, because we got hit really hard in South Bend. So, congrats to Ken. I know he's been trying for a long time, and I know it's a good feeling. So, good race. I gave it all I had, man. I'm glad I had some car left after I got creamed by Hingston. That's all I got to say.
Well, it was a great race to watch, a great drive for you. We're going to grab Kevin real quick. Kevin with the bronze.
Yes.
You saw the full course yellow come out. What were your thoughts?
Not again. Race start couldn't have gone a whole lot better. Car was hooked up in a groove. Running faster than qualifying times. Car felt great, and I was able to not get any draft effect, and then I could hold that gap, even with those guys kind of back there drafting, because I could run on my own. Because Sector 1 and Sector 3, I had the best car out here, but I knew once we got in some drafting, it was going to be hard, and then because I can get by you coming up back straight away, and I can't do a whole lot back over here to pass back. But these guys both drove great. Could not be happier for Kenny. That dude's been trying forever, and he's one of the best humans. So car was fantastic. I couldn't be happier about it. I think I drove well.
Well, congratulations. Another podium at the runoff.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, pretty remarkable record for him. That's his 6th podium in the competition to go with 2 gold medals. Here we go at the start. You see the tire rack pole sitter, Ira, leading down into turn 1. Ruck popping to the outside and working his way around, or trying to, around Hingston. And there's that big contact right there that he was talking about, and it dropped him back about 5 spots.
It also dropped the tire pressure right out of the right front for Bill Hingston, who went on to actually go replace that tire, and we'll probably see this ride down into the tire wall, caused a full course caution, which brought the field back together, and that's what Ruck did not want.
Nope, it brought him back, and he was able to lead at the restart, but Kannard and Ira were right there, and this battle continued all the way. You can see Mason Workman pretty racy on the restart as well. Charlie Campbell coming up, and again, Ira gets demoted. But then this battle here, Kannard up on Ruck, finally able to sneak through, and the battle was on. And a couple of times, Ira was able to get up and alongside, ease ahead even, but Kannard was not to be denied.
It sounded like he just had to not think about it too much, just go out and race, and that's what he did. He used beautiful racecraft to maintain. Every time he got put on the back foot, responded beautifully. This was that awesome pass around the outside through turns 5 and 6 into the lower S's, and he was able to keep it. Lost this race a couple times, but he won it on the right lap.
And right there, able to come through and defend where Ira was at his absolute fastest. And for Kannard, really putting an exclamation point on an incredible season in the Hoosier Super Tour. 4 wins and 4 poles, and he had the same record in the majors and add 6 podiums there. So what a great year, what a great season for Ken Kannard. And now, for the first time in 23 attempts, he can add national champion, and he has a gold medal draped around his neck here at VIR. Congratulations to Ken, to Ira, to Ruck, to all of our competitors in the run for the gold in F production here in the 60th running of SCCA's National Championship Runoffs. For Tom Owen Hayward, I'm Greg Creamer. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
My customer experience with Mazda has been absolutely fantastic.
I'm probably not the richest person out here, and they're extremely reasonably priced, and you can buy parts easily, and it's a class that fits both what I want from a racing standpoint and what I can afford.
We got into Mazdas largely just because it's a fantastic platform, and Mazda Motorsports has some of the best support for the grassroots racer in parts and technical advice and everything else, so they make it easy for us to run these cars.